Hi all, let us begin to the next session on aliasing effect. So we have seen this aliasing effect is basically due to the undersampling feature that we have looked at. So wherein we have seen we can sample in three different ways. We can choose the sampling frequency in three different ways, out of which if the sampling frequency Fs is less than twice that of Fm is less than twice that of Fm, then it is going to create what is so called as an aliasing effect, or the overlapping of the signals is going to happen at the or in the frequency domain. When the overlapping of the signals is going to happen in the frequency domain, we are unable to reconstruct back the original signal due to the overlapped region. So that region is going to actually is like a loss for us. So in order to avoid that, we have always taken care that whenever we sample the signal, it should be always greater than or equal to twice that of Fm. So that criteria, when Fs is equal to twice that of Fm, we call it as Nyquist criteria or Nyquist rate, and then Fs is greater than twice that of Fm, we call that as an oversampling criteria. So with this basic knowledge, let us move on to, or let us understand clearly why this aliasing is affecting us so much, and why is that we are losing the data when we reconstruct the signal. The figure here, it represents the signal, or it is going to give us the detailed view when we look at from the positive half cycle of a baseband spectrum. So the very first thing is the positive half cycle of the baseband spectrum, and one of its keep on repeating again and again when we make the signal to pass, or when we take the product of an analog signal along with the pulse signal, and when we transmit it, it is going to replicate itself in the same way by keeping the Fs constant. Then moving on to the second diagram, or the second image here. So what we have is the this particular figure actually is trying to illustrate that there is some aliasing being present, there is some aliasing component being present. This overlap region, it actually contains the part of the spectrum which is aliased due to undersampling. So what is this aliased component? What kind of component is present in this particular signal? So that is what is shown here with an arrow mark, that is the aliasing component is the two overlapped region of the baseband signal, right? So the aliased spectral component here, it represents some ambiguity. Whenever I try to reconstruct, it is quite difficult for a filter to choose whether I have to take the frequency of the signal for this particular signal as Fm, or it has to choose Fs minus Fm. So that ambiguity exists between the appearance whenever I have a look at the signal. So the choosing or selecting the frequencies for reconstruction is quite difficult here. So that is one of the major drawback that we have, that is whether whenever I want to reconstruct this signal which is centered around your Fs, I have the frequency of that particular signal as Fs minus Fm, and here I have it as Fs plus Fm. So the lower sideband, if I consider, it is Fs minus Fm, but for my original message signal, the message signal frequency is Fm. So both of them are getting overlapped here. So this region is actually going to lead or give the ambiguity in the reconstruction process when we try to do. So that particular process is what is we called it as aliasing, and this is due to the criteria when I choose Fs to be less than twice that of Fm. So this is when I go with the undersampling criteria, then I am going to have the overlapping or shifting of the original shifting of the signals back on to the samples of the original message signal, or it is coming well within the sample of the original signal. So this we call it as aliasing effect. Aliasing can be actually eliminated. How we can eliminate it is, if I choose my sampling frequency little greater than that of the fs. If I go for a higher sampling rate, which is taken here as fs dash, so if I go for higher sampling rate, I can try to actually separate that original signal with its replicates, message signal with its spectral replicates. So this can be done here, and the corresponding diagram of the sampled spectrum is shown in your in this second figure, which is figure B. What we have done here is we have chosen a greater frequency. So if I have chosen a greater frequency, so what is that it is happening here is I am taking the sampling frequency now as fs dash. So my original signal or original message signal bandwidth is going to be plus fm to minus fm here. So this is going to be present as it is. So we are going to have the sampling rate at fs dash, which means the signal earlier which was getting overlapped is shown here with the dotted lines, and the signal which is with the sampling rate as fs dash is chosen here or shown here as a dark line. So what is that we have taken care is, if I try to slightly slide that particular signal, replicated signal, towards the other set of the frequency by choosing a higher frequency, then I am capable of avoiding the signal getting overlapped with the original message signal. Now it is very clear from the diagram that you can say the lower sideband is going to start or is present at fs dash minus fm, and the higher signal is going to be present at fs dash plus fm. Instead of having been overlapped with fs minus fm and fm, we are slightly sliding our signal or the spectrum onto the right side by choosing a higher set of sampling frequency. So this is one method. This is what we basically call take it as fs to be greater than twice that of fm, which we called it as oversampling case, so which is seen here. In this particular block, what is that we are trying to analyze is, we are trying to analyze with the usage of anti-aliasing filter, how can we actually eliminate this particular aliasing effect. So we are trying to make use of an aliasing filter. So what is this aliasing filter does for us is, the analog signal is pre-filtered so that the maximum frequency so that the new maximum frequency is now going to be f dash m, and it is always chosen in such a way that it is less than fs by 2. So whatever the fs frequency was present here, so this frequency, if I try to reduce it, the gap between both of them, if I try to reduce it is as fs by 2, I will be getting a new frequency which is f dash m. So that frequency is taken into consideration. So this is due to the pre-filtered effect. I am trying to pre-filter it. Thus what we can see is, if we pre-filter, I am going to get 3 different points. One is just beside my fs by 2 f dash m, and on the right hand side of fs by 2 I am going to have fs minus f dash m. So that fs minus f dash m would be the lower sideband of your replicated signal, and f dash m is going to be the message signal point. So like this I can actually sample out, and I can filter out and take out the original signal without any loss of the information. This is nothing but again choosing my fs to be greater than twice that of fm dash. Now it is fm dash. In the previous case I was talking of f dash s, which was choosing a new sampling rate. So what we did here was, we were trying to eliminate the aliasing term prior to sampling is what is good practice of an engineer or good engineering practice. So when the signal structure is well known to us, when we know that this is going to be the output and the output is going to have the bandwidth of so much, so what we can do is that aliased term which is going to come up in the next signal, we can actually eliminate that after sampling with the usage of a low pass filter operating with a sampled rate or sampling rate that we have chosen. So that pre-filtering is done, but knowing the characteristics of the signal which we are trying to transmit through and then low pass filtering it is going to be of greater advantage for an engineer. In this particular thing, we are trying to remove the aliased portion. We are trying to remove this aliased spectrum by making use of post filter processing or post filtering after sampling. So the aliased components here are removed by post filtering after sampling. The filter cutoff frequency is now we are trying to choose it as f double dash m, which removes the aliased component. What does it mean is whatever the signal frequency that is existing of the neighboring band, that is which is fs minus fm, I have to choose my f double dash m such that it is less than this fs minus fm. So in this particular filtering technique, for eliminating the aliased portion of the spectrum, like what we have seen in the previous section, we were choosing that to be quite greater than, or we are trying to slide that particular spectrum, but here this particular will result in a loss of some of the signal information as we are trying to bring it down, or as we are trying to bring it well within that aliasing band. So we are going to definitely lose some of the portion of the signal. So if you can actually make it, we are going to lose the portion of the signal which is here, the difference between the dotted line and that as fs minus fm. If we look at that, so it is, sorry, not fs minus fm, f double dash m, and if I take it at fm, so the difference we are going to lose out here. So that difference is going to make a loss of signal informations in case of when I go for post filtering after sampling. So what we have to do here is the sample rate, cutoff bandwidth and the filter type selected for a particular signal bandwidth, all these things are interrelated. So whenever I choose a particular filter, I have to take care of what is the sampling rate, what is the cutoff bandwidth and what type of filter I am going to make use of in order to extract the proper message signal. So that will actually help us in either going for pre-filtering or post-filtering of the signal. Then understanding a new term which is, we call it as transition bandwidth. So the reliable filters requires a non-zero bandwidth from the transition between the pass band and the required out of band attenuation. I repeat, the realizable filters, whatever the filters that we can design, it requires a non-zero bandwidth. Non-zero bandwidth means it should have some lower cutoff frequency and it should have some higher cutoff frequency for the transition between the pass band. So if I have lower cutoff frequency and higher cutoff frequency, I can move from lower cutoff frequency towards the higher cutoff frequency. So this kind of transition which is required, such that the transition between the pass band and the required out of band attenuation will not happen. Means we should be clear if I take a signal, I should be clear that my signal is going to exist well within this particular band. This should not go out of band. And here what is the starting frequency band? Whatever the transition is happening here for the pass band of the signal, it should not get affected with the choosing of this particular signals. So this we call it as transition bandwidth. So this we call it as transition bandwidth. We know that in order to minimize the system sample rate, we desire the anti-aliasing filter to have a small transition bandwidth. This transition bandwidth, what we are choosing here, this should be always small, it should not be too high. This transition should be always small. So why we are choosing this bandwidth to be very small for any of the given anti-aliasing filters bandwidth? So before that anti-aliasing filter, whatever the bandwidth we are trying to choose should be small. So filter complexity and cost rises sharply with narrower transition bandwidth. So there should be some trade-off which is actually required between the cost of the small transition bandwidth and the cost of the higher sampling rate. So which are those of more storage and higher transmission rates. So some trade-off should exist between the smaller transition bandwidth and the cost of the higher sampling rates. So which will not cause me, or which will not cost me too much. So that transition should exist, or that trade-off should exist between choosing this transition bandwidth and the cost of the sampling rate. Usually this transition bandwidth we are going to choose as to be 10 to 20%. So 10 to 20% of the signal bandwidth. So we always look at that when we choose this transition bandwidth as 10 to 20%. So what will be the new Nyquist sampling rate now? If we account that the transition rate is 20%, transition bandwidth is 20%, the bandwidth of the anti-aliasing filter. So we have the new Nyquist criteria, which is Fs should be greater than 2.2 times Fm, right. So this is what is the new Nyquist sampling rate we will have whenever we choose the transition bandwidth to be 20%. The next figure here is that we are trying to choose a signal. We are trying to choose a signal which is an analog signal, which is given with a dark line here. So this analog signal which is existing here is going to have some points or some solid lines which are being given as sinusoids, or some representation of the signals that we are trying to make here are represented as sampling instants, which are present here as solid lines. So these sampling instants, when I try to trace out these sampling instants, so what is that it is going to happen? So what we see is, whenever I try to choose or take this sampling instance and go for having a solid sinusoidal signal for undersampled signal being drawn. So what you can see is, you can see the output to be the dotted line of the given signal. So is the dotted line signal same as that of the solid line signal? Obviously no. Why? Because it has to trace back all the amplitudes and get the original signal. But what is happening in case of undersampled signals? We are losing out some of the points, we are losing out some of the information, or we are losing some of the sampling instants. So that is where we should avoid going with the undersampled points. So there comes now, why oversampling always? Why not just Nyquist criteria being satisfied always? So why oversampling is, it is always most economic solution for task of transforming an analog signal to digital signal, as we have seen that there will be a good separation which is existing between the message signal and the next reconstructed signals. So that is, it is always better to go for such kind of oversampling method. And then transforming a digital signal to analog signal is also very easy in case of oversampling. That is why we choose oversampling to be the major process. And then this is so because signal processing performed with high performance analog equipment is typically very much costly than using a digital signal processing equipment to perform the same task. So whenever I am going for either A to D or D to A conversion, I am going to make use of signal processing. I have to process the signals, either analog signal has to be processed to digital or digital to be processed in the form of an analog. Whenever I go for such kind of uh, processing of the signal, analog equipment is at higher rate. Analog equipments are more costlier than when we compare with that of the digital signal processing equipment. So in order to take care of this cost, we are going for transforming analog to digital signal. When this A to D is being done with the usage of digital signal processing methods by choosing oversampling technique, when this task is performed without the benefit of oversampling, the process is characterized by 3 steps. Means whenever we go with oversampling and I choose to convert this analog to digital signal or analog signal in the form of a digital signal, this basically constitutes of 3 steps. So performed in this first following order. First is the signal will be passed through a high performing or a good performing analog low pass filter to limit its bandwidth. Then this filter has to be sampled by making use of our Nyquist rate. So when we make use of our Nyquist rate, we are actually trying to furthermore band limiting the signal. And then the third step is the samples are processed by A to D converter that maps the continuous valued samples to a finite list of discrete output levels, which is nothing but we are trying to reconstruct it back. When this particular task is performed with the benefit of oversampling, so the earlier was without the benefit of an oversampling. Now let us look at with the benefit of oversampling, what are the steps that we have to follow. We have to follow 5 steps here. First 3 are almost the same, that is the signal is passed through low performance or less costly, but on the other end we have seen that it was passed through a high performance analog signal. Here it is a low performance analog low pass filter to limit its bandwidth. So we will get the bandwidth limited for that particular signal. Then pre-filtered signal is sampled at Nyquist rate for the band limited signal in order to get the band limited signal, and then the samples are processed to A to D converter that maps the continuous valued signal into a finite list of discrete values, and then those digital samples are then processed by a high performance digital filter in order to reduce the bandwidth of the digital samples. We do not want to increase the band spacing between the samples, discrete samples. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to again pass it through a digital filter and try to reduce the bandwidth of those digital samples, and then the sample rate at the output of the digital filter is reduced in proportion to the bandwidth reduction obtained by the digital filter. So what does this do for us with oversampling is, when I go for oversampling, actually I am trying to fit my original signal within the available bandwidth, try to fit those digital samples within the available bandwidth. So as we am trying to pass it through the output of the digital filter, the portion of the bandwidth is reduced. So this portion of the bandwidth which is getting reduced is nothing but it is getting reduced with respect to the sample rate. So that is what we have seen, or we can observe when we have oversampling been done for the signal. So in short, if we want to summarize why we have to go for oversampling, so the benefits of oversampling is what is analog filtering, sampling and analog to digital conversion becomes easier, and choosing what kind of sampling rate that we have to consider will also become easier by considering the transition region that is available, or the transition bandwidth that is available for us. And then moving on for digital filtering and resampling. So when we go for digital filtering and resampling, the sample data is actually made to pass through a high performance but low cost digital filter in order to perform the desired anti-alias filtering process. So this actually helps us in order to reduce the cost as well as give the good output for us. So that is where we choose this kind of digital filters, which is helpful for us to realize the narrow transition bandwidth without distortion being associated with, like which was present in the analog filters. With the analog filters too have some distortion, so that too gets added with the signal, so that is avoided in case of the digital filtering. And the and it can operate at a very low cost, or where I can buy it or I can purchase a digital filter at a low cost when compared to that of the purchase of the analog filter at a high cost. And then we also need to look at how the sampling rate has to be. We next what we do is try to reduce the sample rate of the signal after the digital filtering operation. That has to be reduced, that had reduced the transition bandwidth. So whatever the resampled signals that we have got after digital filtering, so I have to now compact them, or I have to now put all of them in a compact way, or try to bring down them well within the transition bandwidth. So that process is again done here along with digital filtering, which we call it as resampling. Putting all the samples well within the transition bandwidth, we call it as resampling. So good digital signal processing technique combined with the filtering and resampling is a very best practice that we can always go with in order to have the proper output being observed. Moving on to the next thing, which is signal interface for a digital signal. So now we can see that the signals which are given here, these are going to be the amplitudes and time coordinates of the source data. In figure A we can see original analog waveform, so analog waveform in time domain, and then figure B, it is going to represent as the sampled version of the original waveform, that is natural sampling data, which is a pulse amplitude modulated kind of data. And then if we look at the figure C, it is going to show us the quantized samples. Quantized samples is something which, like we have seen that in natural sampling, I don't want these kinds of too many kinds of transitions of the amplitudes being present. So what I do is, in our figure C, if we look at, we are trying to make use of the flat top sampling, or we are trying to make use of the flat tops and the pulse amplitude values, which are limited to a finite set of values, which is shown like here, like this particular pulse. So I want this particular flat top to be present than a transition top which is going to exist for a pulse. So I am going to go for a quantized sample in case of figure C, and these quantized figures or quantized samples, when I look or when I try to pass this to be through the sample and hold circuit, these traces or these amplitudes are going to be chosen, and those flat tops are traced, and I am going to get the signal levels alone, not the whole pulse, but I am going to get the signal levels. So that is what we call it as the output of sample and hold circuit. When the sample values are quantized to a finite set of values, the format that we are looking here, this format can also interface with the digital system. After quantization, the analog waveform can still be recovered. So you can now see that this and this particular plots, or the graphs which are existing are almost looking like an analog signal, it can still be recovered but not precisely. So, improved reconstruction fidelity of analog waveform can be achieved by increasing the number of quantization levels. So, these are nothing but the quantization levels here. So, if I keep on increasing these quantization level, definitely I am going to get back this original analog waveform with a smooth curve. So, signal distortion due to quantization is one of the drawback which we have. So, which we will be looking in the next sections, as what is this distortion which is going to be present in case of signal when we are going to go for a quantization process. Thank you.